The Tuscal Armada descended on Artemis Prime at dawn. They did not announce themselves with words of diplomacy or warnings of war. They came with fire. In orbit, a lattice of silver warships, Predator sleek, jagged with spines of energy cannonry, ignited the sky. Civilian transports, unarmed and fragile, were vaporized before their pilots even knew the danger had come. Entire cargo vessels split apart as if cut by a god's blade, scattering burning debris across the atmosphere. The colony below had no defenses worth the name. Artemis Prime had been a jewel of humanity's frontier: green fields, oceans of crystal blue, and cities built for life, not for war. Families lived there. Artists painted skylines of twin moons. Children learned under glass domes. They were farmers, teachers, poets, miners, dreamers who believed that out there, among the stars, they were safe. But safety was an illusion. The Tuscal saw the world not as a place of peace, but as prey. To them, humans were weak upstarts, noisy newcomers who had spread too far too quickly, and prey was to be culled. Their fleet commander, Voron Kett, stood upon the bridge of his flagship and watched Artemis burn. He laughed, his mandibles clattering in rhythm to the destruction. "Pathetic creatures," he declared, as the translation drones carried his words to every ship in his fleet. "They dared stake a claim among the stars, and now their claim ends beneath our guns. Mark it well, warriors. The humans will learn their place today. Their worlds are dust, their strength a myth." On the surface, men and women tried to flee, but the Tuscal took pleasure in the hunt. Dropships descended, spewing fire across cities. Entire districts were swept clean in minutes. Those who surrendered were executed on public feeds. Broadcasts deliberately leaked into human networks as a warning. And when it was done, when the last pockets of resistance were ash and silence, Voron ordered a final act of cruelty. They carved the symbol of the Tuscal Dominion into the crust of Artemis Prime itself, scorched black across thousands of square kilometers, visible from orbit. A brand, a mark of ownership, a reminder that the humans had been broken. The Tuscal fleet departed with trophies of blood and ruin, leaving behind only silence, smoke, and the stench of victory. The Feast of Arrogance, in the grand halls of the Dominion. The news spread like wildfire. The Tuscal celebrated the slaughter not as war, but as sport. They mocked humanity's inability to resist. They played recordings of the colony's final moments. Human screams turned into music, their desperate cries looped into entertainment broadcasts. To the Dominion, this was the natural order. The strong consumed the weak, and humanity, in their eyes, had been weighed and measured, found fragile, found unworthy. Their scholars laughed at the idea of retaliation. Their generals dismissed Earth as a single planet of sentimental primates, incapable of standing against fleets that had broken star nations older than humankind itself. The Tuscal drank deep from the cup of arrogance, convinced that Earth would cower in silence, that humanity would mourn but not strike. "They are civilized," Voron sneered, his voice echoing across their networks. "And civilization is weakness. They will weep and beg, but they will not fight. And even if they do, what are their pitiful fleets against us? Let them come. Let them fall." And across the Dominion, his words were echoed with laughter. The silence before the storm. For a time, the galaxy believed him. Human colonies went dark, their comms silent. No retaliation came. Earth itself seemed still. Other species whispered that perhaps humanity truly had no teeth, that perhaps their rise had been a brief flame, now extinguished. But silence is not surrender. Silence is the drawing of breath before a scream. And in the depths of Sol System, beneath the shadow of old Earth, something ancient stirred. The human fleets, long kept hidden, long underestimated, began to move. Titans of steel and fire, dreadnoughts so vast their wakes tore gravity wells behind them, slipped silently from hidden docks in the asteroid belts. Carriers rose from Mars shipyards, black as night, bristling with weapons whose names had never been spoken aloud beyond Earth's councils. Comms darkened, civilian chatter stilled. Across every human-controlled world, whispers spread like wildfire. Not panic, not fear, retribution. A single message pulsed through encrypted channels, broadcast only once, to be repeated by every officer, every ship, every soldier. They thought Earth would fall. They were wrong. And as the fleets assembled, as soldiers donned black armor marked with burning insignia, the galaxy realized too late. Humanity had not been idle. Humanity had been waiting. The unveiling of wrath. The first sign came on the edge of Dominion space, where a Tkal patrol found itself shadowed by something too vast to comprehend. Their sensors screamed warnings of impossible mass, gravitational distortions eclipsing their scanners. And then the shape emerged. An Earth dreadnought, the Leviathan of Sol, dwarfing their entire patrol fleet. The humans did not hail. They did not parley. They fired once. A single lance of energy brighter than any sun tore through the patrol, vaporizing ships in an instant. Silence followed, broken only by a human voice carried across the void. For Artemis. Then came the flood. Human fleets surged from hyperspace like storms unleashed. Entire squadrons blinked into Dominion sectors, surrounding outposts and strongholds before defenders even had time to rally. For every world that Tkal had marked with their sigil, humanity returned the mark 1,000-fold. In fire, in blood, in ruin, where the Tkal had mocked human tears. Now they heard only silence from Earth's soldiers, who killed without hesitation, without mercy. No speeches, no pleas. Just the steady, unstoppable march of retribution. And as humanity advanced, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. When stars died, the Tkal had called themselves rulers of the stars, but one by one, those stars were extinguished. The Battle of Krivos. Human dreadnoughts entered orbit and unleashed planet crackers, splitting the Dominion's shipyards into molten rivers. Survivors spoke of the sky turning to fire, of the night filled with falling metal that screamed as it burned. The Siege of Elvath. Tkal fleets gathered in pride, 50 warships strong, only to find themselves encircled by triple that number. Human carriers released waves of strikecraft, black wings blotting out suns, and the battle became slaughter. The fall of Voron Ket, the conqueror of Artemis Prime, once so proud, was dragged from the bridge of his flagship as his fleet collapsed around him. He begged for honor in death. He begged for recognition. Instead, the humans gave him silence. They executed him without a word. His corpse discarded into the void. World after world fell, stars themselves going dark under the human advance. The Dominion, once thought invincible, now burned. And still, Earth's fleets did not stop. The galaxy watched in awe and terror as humanity carved a path of vengeance so absolute it seemed biblical. Their wrath was not wild, not chaotic. It was measured, cold, and precise. They struck with the patience of hunters, the certainty of executioners. They had been mocked for their rage, and in that rage, stars themselves died. The ashes of silence. In the aftermath, the Dominion was gone. The Tkal homeworld lay silent, its great cities reduced to hollow ruins. Their fleets, once a terror across the stars, were nothing but drifting wreckage in forgotten orbits. And in the galaxy beyond, a new silence reigned. Species that had laughed at humanity's supposed weakness now spoke only in whispers. Traders who had once mocked the civilized primates now trembled when human ships passed in the dark. A warning spread, carried from system to system, etched into memory and legend. Never provoke Earth. Their patience is long, but their vengeance is eternal. On Earth itself, no victory parades were held. No speeches proclaimed conquest. Humanity did not need to boast. They had answered insult with annihilation, and that answer was carved not in words, but in the ashes of stars. Epilogue. The whisper in the dark centuries later. In the outer fringes of the galaxy, alien children would ask their elders why so many systems lay barren, why so many stars flickered with dead light. And the answer was always the same, spoken with fear, spoken with reverence. Those are the stars that died when Earth was mocked, and if you are wise, child, you will never give Earth reason to burn again. For in the silence of the cosmos, one truth remained, unshakable and eternal. They thought Earth would fall, but stars did.